Nobody wants your dream car. They want the feeling they think your car gives you. Today, we are unpacking one of the most fascinating psychological blind spots in human behavior. We're drawing directly from Morganhousel's brilliant insights in his work, The Psychology of Money, to explore a deeply ingrained illusion about wealth, status, and the very things we buy. If you have ever found yourself longing for a luxury item, secretly assuming it's going to completely change how the world looks at you, well, this explainer is going to be a profoundly eye-opening journey. Think about it. We spend a massive amount of our time, our energy, and our resources chasing after status symbols. But there is a huge, glaring curiosity gap right here. Why do we obsess over buying these incredibly expensive objects if, fundamentally, they don't actually make people admire us the way we think they do? From day one, we are taught to believe that purchasing high-end items is just a direct transaction for societal respect, like putting coins in a vending machine, right? But as we unpack the source material today, you're going to see that the true cost of a dream car isn't just the sticker price or those crippling monthly loan payments. The true cost is often a complete misunderstanding of human psychology. It leads us down this dangerous path where we literally trade away our actual wealth for a complete mirage of admiration. To really understand this, let's go back to a story from the author's college years. He spent some time working as a valet at an upscale luxury hotel in Los Angeles. Day in and day out, he had a front row seat to what he calls the aristocratic fleet. We're talking about guests pulling up and driving the most incredible, jaw-dropping machines ever to touch pavement. Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Rolls-Royces, the whole shebang. For a young guy, this was the ultimate dream scenario. He desperately wanted one of those cars for himself. But why? Because of what he believed those cars represented to the world. He genuinely believed that pulling up in a vehicle like that was the absolute, undeniable proof of success. And that brilliantly illustrates the core motivation behind almost every luxury purchase. When someone drops a small fortune on a Ferrari or signs a mortgage for a multi-million-dollar mansion, they are essentially attempting to broadcast a loud, inescapable signal to the entire world. They are trying to say, hey, look at me. You made it. You are smart. You have taste. You are important. And let's be honest, this is a universally human desire. We all want to feel valued. Modern capitalism just happens to provide us with these incredibly expensive tools to supposedly broadcast that value. The driver truly believes the car is a megaphone for their own success. But the psychology of the people watching from the sidewalk, well, that is an entirely different story. It begs a really fascinating question. Are they admiring you, or are they just admiring the car? Here is the central paradox the author realized while he was working as that valet out in LA. He noticed a profound irony playing out every single day. When these magnificent cars pulled up to the curb, he rarely, if ever, actually looked at the drivers. He didn't care at all about the brilliant technology executive or the wealthy financier behind the wheel. Instead, he was just gawking at the car itself. Think about your own reactions. When you see someone driving a breathtaking car, your instinct is rarely to think, wow, the person driving that car is so incredibly cool. Instead, your subconscious immediately pivots to, wow, if I had that car, people would think I'm cool. This exact phenomenon is known as the man in the car paradox. It is a massive psychological blind spot where onlookers completely bypass the wealthy individual. They do not admire the person sitting in the driver's seat. Instead, they just use that luxury item as an empty vessel to fuel their own personal fantasies. The onlooker is literally just projecting their own ego onto the vehicle. They're using someone else's visible wealth as a benchmark for their own deep-seated desire to be liked and admired. To the person staring at the car, the driver is utterly invisible. So you end up with this stark, almost tragic contrast between intent and reality. On one hand, you have the driver's intent, to be liked, to be admired, to be noticed as a person of high status and importance. But the harsh reality? They are being completely ignored while the object they just spent a fortune on is being fetishized by strangers. The wealthy person likely bought that shiny new Ferrari genuinely thinking it would bring them admiration, completely unaware that the valets and the pedestrians gawking at them didn't give the driver a single moment's thought. The driver thinks they just bought a spotlight, but in reality, they just bought a mirror for everyone else's insecurities and desires. This brings us to a massive, game-changing realization about modern wealth. It links the concept of the man-in-the-car paradox directly to the idea that true wealth is actually what you don't see. Because you see, this paradox isn't just about fast cars. It expands to almost everything we naturally associate with visible success. Because we can't actually see people's bank accounts or look at their brokerage statements, we are forced to rely on outward appearances to gauge how financially successful someone is.
We rely on the cars, the homes, the shiny objects. But as the source material brilliantly points out, when you see someone driving a $100,000 car, the only absolute undeniable data point you have about their wealth is that they have exactly $100,000 less than they did before they bought the car. Or even worse, they are now $100,000 deeper in debt.
And this brings us to what we can call the modern status mirage. Because this psychological paradox infects so much of our modern culture, does this apply to those living in massive, sprawling homes? Almost certainly. Luxury watches and ridiculously expensive designer clothes? Absolutely. But what about social media wealth and influencer lifestyles? Modern capitalism has essentially turned faking it until you make it into a cherished, highly profitable global industry. People are spending vast amounts of money extending their peacock feathers to their absolute outermost limits, desperately trying to keep up with others who are doing the exact same thing. It is performative entrepreneurship at its finest. They are buying objects as fake proxies for respect.
Which naturally leads us to a deeply thought-provoking question. One you really need to ask yourself. Do you want the object? Or do you want the connection? When you deeply analyze what you are actually trying to purchase when you buy a luxury good, it is almost rarely the object itself. You don't necessarily want the cold, heavy metal of the watch on your wrist or the specific thread count of the designer clothing. What you actually want is what you think those things will automatically trigger in other people. You are looking for a shortcut to human connection, to validation, and to status. But as we clearly learned from the valet, that shortcut is a complete dead end. People aren't connecting with you. They are just coveting the object.
To really bring this lesson home, the author actually wrote a highly emotional, intimate letter to his newborn son, capturing this exact revelation. He wrote, "You might think you want an expensive car, a fancy watch, and a huge house, but I'm telling you, you don't. Imagine trying to impart the most important life lessons of the world to your own child. Out of all the complex financial advice out there, stuff about compounding interest, stock market returns, and savings rates, this is the foundational psychological truth he chose to share first. He is actively warning his son about the ultimate trap of money, the dangerous belief that it can somehow buy you a permanent place in the hearts and minds of others."
The letter continues, revealing a core psychological truth about all of us. What you really want is respect and admiration. As humans, we are incredibly social creatures. It's wired into our DNA. We fundamentally crave respect. We want to be admired by our peers, our families, and our society at large. And you know what? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that desire. The tragic flaw is the false belief that expensive stuff will automatically trigger that respect from the right people. Because it almost never does, especially from the people whose respect you actually value. You simply cannot put a price tag on genuine admiration.
As he tells his son, humility, kindness, and empathy will bring you more respect than horsepower ever will. If genuine respect and admiration are your ultimate goals in life, you have to be incredibly careful about exactly how you go out seeking them. Flashy displays of wealth literally just invite comparison and envy. It's a subtle but profound recognition that people generally aspire to be respected, but using money to buy fancy things brings far less of it than you ever imagined. So how do we actually apply this to our own lives? First, we have to entirely redefine what wealth actually means. Remember, true wealth is what you don't see. It's the luxury cars not purchased, the first-class flight upgrades declined. It's the hidden financial assets that give you the ultimate, unbeatable dividend, total control over your own time. Second, stop trying to buy admiration. Realize that saving money is simply the gap between your ego and your income. When you desire less, you can save more. And you're naturally going to desire less if you care less about what strangers think of you. And finally, prioritize kindness over chrome. Start separating your ego from your income in your daily life. We want to leave you with this final, lingering question to think about today. What is the true price of the respect you are chasing? If you're spending your one incredibly valuable life trading your time, your hidden wealth, and your total peace of mind just to buy objects for an audience that isn't even looking at you, is it really worth it? The next time you find yourself deeply longing for a status symbol, remember the valet. Remember that nobody wants your dream car. They just want the feeling they think it gives you. True wealth and true respect are found exactly where your wallet isn't. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and we hope this helps you fundamentally rethink your own pursuit of status.